Kylo Ren is a bad villain. If you agree with this statement, then that means J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson successfully delivered the intended message. Kylo Ren is bad at being bad, and that's exactly the point of his character. From start to finish, the sequel trilogy delivers the message that Kylo Ren aspires to erase the perceived weaknesses of Ben Solo by fully immersing himself in the dark side. But he is unable to do so because deep down, Kylo Ren still feels very connected to Ben Solo, and he has this complex throughout the trilogy where he's trying very hard to hide Ben Solo and to bury him as much as he can. This is a big reason why he wears a mask, to hide Ben Solo from everyone else. Unlike his grandfather, the bad things he does make him feel bad, which weakens his connection with the dark side. We see this very clearly after Kylo kills Han Solo. The act shatters his spirit and leaves him haunted by regret. With Vader, each act of destruction causes him to crave more power, and he continues on this downward spiral. But Kylo's crimes fill him with conflict. This conflict leads to frustration, and that frustration causes him to make irrational decisions which only lead to more regret and more anger with himself. Rather than a downward spiral, Kylo essentially just runs around in a maddening circle trying to kill the light within but never succeeding. And the question that's answered throughout the trilogy is what's driving Kylo to even pursue this? He doesn't have the same motivations that Anakin did to turn to the dark side, so why has Ben Solo even chosen the dark side? And we find out a lot about that in The Last Jedi, and then we also get some more background in the supplementary materials. But ultimately, the reality is that because he doesn't have the same motivations that Vader did, Kylo is unsuccessful in separating himself from Ben Solo in the way that Vader separated himself from Anakin. Even before he turned to the dark side, Anakin craved power. He craved recognition from other people. And that's not to say that Ben Solo didn't have some of that too. We don't know as much about Ben in his younger years as we do about Anakin, but we do know that when Ben was young, he had other aspirations. He wanted to be a pilot like his father, and we also know, because we've seen the prequels, that Anakin did crave recognition, and he wanted to become as powerful as possible, and he also turned to the dark side to save the ones he loved, and ultimately that results in the death of these people who he turned to the dark side for. Vader's turn results in the death of Padme. He loses Ahsoka, he loses Obi-Wan, he loses everyone he's ever cared about, really, and so he ends up with the dark side, and his pursuit of power is the only thing he has. Whereas Kylo, when he turned to the dark side, it was sort of like, well, all these people are pushing me toward the dark side. I'm looking around and I don't really see any other options, you know? Luke has turned against me, my family has lied to me for my whole life, my friends are now pointing the finger at me, they'll never believe me, the galaxy will never believe that I'm the good guy in all of this or that I haven't done the things that I've been accused of. Let's embrace this persona. And that's not the same motivation that Anakin had. And then, in addition to that, Kylo still has people that he could go back to if he wanted to. Ultimately, whether he believes he can go back to them or not, Leia and Han Solo still exist. They're still alive, and Luke as well. He still has people who believe in him, and then when the sequels roll around, Rey shows up and he has more people who really believe in him, and they express that to him. And so he's always got these people on the light who are pulling him back. Whereas for Vader's tenure as Vader, he's alone. He doesn't know his children are alive, Padme's dead, and he successfully separates himself from Anakin for the most part. If Luke had never come around, Vader would have stayed Vader. Kylo Ren never separates himself from Ben Solo. They are very much still the same person, and that drives him crazy because he constantly has this conflict, and I think deep down, Kylo Ren recognizes that he's on the wrong side, and he has regrets about turning to the dark side in the first place, and he very much blames Luke Skywalker for that. But regardless of whose fault it is, Kylo Ren, I don't think, wants to be where he is, and again, he may not think that he can go back to his parents, but the fact that they're there and they think that's an option just keeps that conflict going. And so he kills Han Solo to try and kill that light within, to kill his past so that there are no options, so that he can deepen his connection with the dark side. And like I said, that just creates more conflict. Like Snoke says, it splits his spirit to the bone. The crimes that Kylo Ren commits just unbalance him because this isn't who he is. This isn't even who he wants to be. It's the life that he thinks he's been forced into, and he doesn't see any other way out. So it's very frustrating for him as he tries to convince himself that this is where he's supposed to be, and he has made the right choices, and he's doing what he has to do, for him to feel this conflict every time he does something that his grandfather would have done, that people on the dark side are supposed to do, that Snoke tells him to do. He just continues to go in this endless circle of trying to convince himself that he's doing the right thing, but ultimately deep down knowing that this is not what he's supposed to be doing. And it's not until the Rise of Skywalker, when Rey reaches out to him and then Han Solo appears before him and Leia reaches out to him, that he finally sees, hey, there is a pathway back to the light for me, and it's time to own up to what I've done, to accept the past for what it is, and to move forward, and to do whatever I can do to atone for my mistakes, to fix the past as well as I can for as long as I can do it. And once he sees that way out, that's the route he chooses, because his eyes have finally been opened, and he now sees that he does have a choice, and he's always had a choice, but it's very clear to him now that he can choose to go the other way, and that this is who he is meant to be. And when we look at all these things and we really try to break the character of Ben Solo down, this is why he becomes one of the most interesting and complex characters in Star Wars. But that is going to wrap things up for me, so let me know what you guys thought about this video in the comments section below. If you enjoyed today's content, please remember to drop a like to support the channel, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and remember, the Force will be with you always.